So, not Visual Studio, not Visual Studio. Okay, let me just close this Visual Studio. Open Jupyter Notebook. Okay. So in the last couple of weeks, we've been looking at the introductory stages of Python, and it's been a great ride. As usual, today we're going to keep exploring the boundaries. And also, as usual, we're going to be coding on the fly, right? So we're going to be coding on the fly as usual. And you guys will also be my eyes and ears, just in case you see something you do not understand and you think there's a better way. That's what makes this a very interesting session for every one of us. So feel free to just buzz me and like feel free to disagree, you know. So it makes the learning richer and we'll all be better for it. So I'm going to, no. Okay, so I'm just going to go to this, open Python functions where we've been using Python functions. That's okay, Python foundation functions. Sorry, let me share my screen. Do you guys like this white background Jupyter Notebook? Yikes. Personally, I do not like the white background, but if you guys like it, I don't mind. But I had to use it for a class I had yesterday, so I forgot to change it. But if you guys don't mind, it's okay. John, you like it?
That's fine. I started off that way, so I'm used to it. It's okay.
But I could quickly just change it to the dark background. Let me just do that right away. So edge.flags. Let me just change it. Dark. Okay. Yeah. So let me restart. Okay. Lovely. So we're good. Oh, no, this is. Do you like this? Or should I just make it plain black and white? Is this good?
I can read that fine. That's a nice contrast.
Just wanted to play around with the contrast. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so cool. So last week we began talking about functions, and we touched on a couple of ways we could activate functions in Python. And sorry, I'm scrolling down too fast. Okay, so I think this is where we stopped, where we said Python creates dictionaries when quarks is declared inside of the function. But hey, so that we don't get things twisted, I forgot to say this last week. I told you that this quarks is just a placeholder, and all of these in Python are just placeholders, args, quarks, this for I in, like, for example, like when we said this for I in args, this I is a placeholder, the args is a placeholder. They can all be changed into anything that makes you feel comfortable, all right? So I could just write a couple of functions here. Let me just do that right now. So let's say I want to repeat this function that we had earlier for, so let's call this def multiple parameters. That's for a function that takes multiple parameters. So it's just, I have issues naming. So sometimes I get to come up with these weird names so that I could just get on with it. So, so this function is a function that will call multiple parameters. And like when we were doing this, I said you could use args. But actually, if you're not comfortable with args, you could use anything really. You could use A, you could use numbers, you could use parameters, you could use anything that works for you. So let's use numbers, all right? And then we define this all right? And then let's call this start count. That's the counter, or equal to 0, based on the example that we had the other time. So for number in numbers, just a second, let me deal with this noise. Okay, I'm really sorry about the noise. It's just one of my neighbors. Okay, so for number in numbers, what were we going to do again? We would do, sorry, let me just get the juice of that function again. I just keep my mind. Okay, yeah. All right. Okay. So yeah. So for number in numbers, we are trying to make numbers equal to start counter plus number. All right. Okay. Yep. This should be it. All right. I think this is it. Then return. What should it return now? Start counter. All right. So I think this should be it. So let's call multiple parameters.
Excuse me.
Yes, please go ahead. Go ahead.
You're saying numbers equal to that they're assigning start counter plus
No. Sorry.
Number.
Don't mind me. You see, don't blame me at all. I'm actually very, very much heckled right now. So yeah. So okay, cool. So it works. Now let's put 1, 2, 3. Okay, cool. So you can see that the numbers now is the parameters, yeah. And you can see that Python just didn't bother that, okay, this guy didn't write args there. Same thing if we wanted to do the keyword arguments, all right? So we could do that one. Like, yes, please.
Does it mean that this argument, this parameter stuff, like converts any input as a list?
Yes, that star, this asterisk here is what drives everything. So
turns it into
yes,
a list.
if you have just one asterisk, it makes it become a tuple actually, not a list. A tuple.
Okay, tuple,
yes.
Not a list.
Yes.
Okay.
Tuples are actually Python's default type. All right.
So what if it's tuple? That means can you iterate in tuple?
You should be
Can
able
you
to do
iterate over
that.
tuple? Does it have, can you index tuple?
Okay, let's try it. So the only thing you cannot do to a tuple is you cannot change it. It's immutable, but you can index it. So let's try it.
Okay, yeah. You can index, but you can't
change. Yep. Okay. So let's even talk about indexing right now, since we are on that matter of indexing. So what is indexing? Very simple. Indexing is how to refer to parts of a Python object. So whatever object you have, indexing is the way you refer to each of the items inside the object. So let's pick one object. Let's call this object people in class. All right. So And this object is a list of people in class. So as usual, we have John, we have Oge, and let's say we have one more person. Let me see the list. Okay, we have Derek. All right, so let me put Derek here. Okay, so now indexing basically is just us saying, how do we reach this item inside the object or this item inside the object? So if we want to reach that item, we would have people in class. So if we want to reach the first item, because Python is zero-based, we'll have 0 here, and it tells us people in class is John, right? 0, that's index 0, index 1, index 2, Derek, all right? So let's make this a tuple, and let's see whether we can index it. So a tuple is usually done with parentheses. So let's see whether we can index it. All right, so we can index the tuple, and we can call for 1, and we can do 0 here. And then it tells us, yeah, so that's it. The major difference between the list and the tuple is that the tuple is immutable. You can't change anything on inside, all right? Or you can index. So for example, if this were a list, right? Now I can, if I say Python, people in class 0, it gives me John, but I can actually say, no, right now, I don't want people in class 0 to be John anymore. I want it to be Ndita, all right? So now, when I call people in class 0, to show me Ndita. So that's, I could even, let me remove this. So that's just be a text. So it shows me Ndita. So with that, I've replaced these people in class 0. But if this were a tuple, I would not be able to do that. Okay. Okay, sorry. I told you I'm just heckled, and you can hear some voices. I need to get these men out of here. I'm sorry, very, very sorry. I forgot to close the door actually. All right, so you guys go play. Okay, sorry everyone. I must confess, I actually just came in like this from a trip. So I just came in and opened my laptop and just jumped on the laptop. So that's why I'm like a bit heckled right now. Okay, I'm really sorry about this. All right, so yeah, that's how we okay. I was going to say let's do it for a tuple. All right, so this tuple. Then we will try to say we want to replace this one with Ndita. And then Python is going to tell us, nope, tuple object does not support this. All right, so that's the difference. Please remember that at every point in time in this class, you can actually stop me and ask me to repeat myself or challenge whatever it is I say, especially if it doesn't sound right, all right? So,
Okay, so just
go ahead, John.
to review that, I'm sorry, but that's the only difference is the parentheses versus the brackets.
Yes,
There's
please.
no other declaration.
Nothing at all.
You have up front that that I'm missing there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, please. Okay. So right. So let's talk a bit about the. Okay, I said I was going to show you the keyword arguments, right? So let me just do that keyword argument right now. Okay. So let me do the same thing for this same function that we did. This, just copy it, and yep. Okay. So sorry, I'm going to scroll. Sorry. Okay. So let me call this parameter of unknown shape 2, and then I could just name this KW if I like. All right. So I'll say perimeter equals to 1 for key value in kw.items. All right. Perimeter equals to perimeter times value. Okay, and return perimeter, and it's going to work. So if I call this function perimeter of unknown shape 2 and I supply the keywords, all right. In fact, you know, the funny thing is, let me see. Let me even try to print KW. Let me just try this. Let me see if it works. Okay, so let me say KW. Let me see. Okay, KW. Okay. Yeah, I think I know why I did this. All right, so I just wanted to try to make sure that it recognizes as a placeholder. But I was also trying to see that. Let me assign. Okay, let me assign some keywords to this. So perimeter of unknown shape, and let's say we have a rectangle. So we have length. A rectangle has two sides, which are length and breadth. Okay, so let's say length equals to 2, breadth equals to 5. All right. Okay, so let me try this. Okay, so 10. Now let me try to see if I print KW. Let me see if anything will come out. Nothing. Okay. Okay.
I think if you print perimeter of unknown shapes dot key, something will come out.
Yes, that obviously will come out. Perimeter of unknown shapes. That would come out obviously. But I'm trying to get it to print.
KW is actually not defined.
I know, but I'm trying to see whether Python 3 would recognize it as a placeholder. I know Python 2 would have given me a different result. Something makes me think Python 2 would have given me a different result, but I'll try that later. Okay, so yep, I would keep this pending for later and I will just play around it. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is let's talk about logic a bit. So sometimes you might want to do something, especially, and this is one of the places that I hate programming for, because sometimes you could want to do something as small as just convert amount in words to figures or amount in figures to words. And you'll be amazed at how much code you have to write to be able to do that. So for example, let's say I want to write a function, def amount converter. So I want, when I call this function, it will convert whatever amount I have in here, all right? So let me just call this amount. Whatever I have in here, I could make it compulsory that is an integer just for integrity's sake, all right? So I could say amount converter, amount int, okay.
Okay, so I
Yes,
tried
please.
this colon. I tried
Okay.
this colon
Yeah.
when I was working in Python, but it threw an error for me.
Okay.
Is it only in, I tried using it to define a function, but it threw an
Yes.
error. What?
I
How
would
does
need
it
to.
work? Is the int, does the name of the type, or does the type of value come after or before? I think what I actually did was I did int colon x.
No. It's actually supposed to be the variable and then the type.
The type of variable.
Yes. So this is how it should be,
Okay.
amounts and ints.
It should
right?
be.
Yes.
Then that will define, will make it
Yes, it
explicit.
will make it explicit that we're expecting an integer in this function. So Python is not going to accept any other parameter you put in here apart from an integer.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. So we want to pick this and then return a variable or something called amounts in words. So what we have to do now is to write the code that would generate this amount in words. And trust me, you see how small this thing looks? You're going to need like 50 lines of code to execute it. I'm just going to show you the logic. So probably we're going to use it as a class project, and then I would see how you guys come up with the solution maybe later, but let me just give you the logic. So this is how it works. Now, you see this number, let me just get this variable. Let me call this, for example, amount, all right? And I'm just going to say this is $100, okay? Now, if I tell Python, get me the length of this variable called amount, guess what Python is going to tell me? Guess.
Error.
Error. Why? Because int does not have the length. Yeah, it's a number. Length. So it means that, because normally the logic, if you want to convert, if you want to change amounts in words into, if you want to change figures into amounts in words, the normal logic would be, okay, so counts in hundreds, all right? So for example, if this number has just 3 digits, it means that it's in hundreds. If it has 4 digits, it means that it's in thousands. If it has 5 digits, tens of thousands, 6 digits, hundreds of thousands, 7 digits, millions, like that. So for the very fact that we can't use this len argument here, all right, because this is an integer, we must have to do a workaround. So the first workaround that we have to do is to convert this amount to a string. So we'll now say amount str, if we like to call that variable, that's equals to string amount. So we're telling Python convert what is inside this place into a string. So now when we run this string amount, what you would see is that it is now a string, no more number. So now when we say len amount, len amount string, all right? It tells us 3. So now you can see we have 3, okay? If we change this to 4, and we'll run this, tells us len amount equals to 4. So this is the first step in our logic. We've gotten the fact that, okay, so we now have to change it to words, to string. So from there, what happens? We will have to now piece this apart, all right? So let me go back to hundreds because that is actually very easy to effect logically. So let me go back to 100. So we'll now go back to string and try to piece this apart. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to tell Python, hey, if the first one is like 1, type 100. If it's a 2, 200. If it's a 3, 300. If it's a 4, 400, like that. Okay. So let's come here and implement that. But again, this is another place where Python could be annoying, but they are correcting this in Python 3.10. All right. Other programming languages have something called a switch case statement. It's where you use where you have options like this, where if number 1, say 100, if it's number 2, 200. Usually, there are 2 ways you can implement this in Python. You could either say if number 1, that's use an if statement, then print 100, elif print, elif 2, print 200, elif 3, print 300, elif 4, print 400. And you're going to have a very long if and elif statement. The second way you can implement this is by using a dictionary. But from Python 3.10, switch is coming to Python. Hooray! All right. So let's look at how you can implement that using a dictionary. So I'm going to create a dictionary, and I'm going to call that because since it's the first integer, which is hundreds, so probably I'm just going to call that dictionary hundreds. All right, hundreds dictionary. And I would say, yes, please go ahead. Go ahead.
Continue.
Go ahead.
Can you assign this length of the amount string to a variable?
Yes, I can. And I'm going to do that so that I can call it into the dictionary when I'm done.
But there are some functions you can assign to a variable, right?
I have not met such.
Like the reverse, reverse is a method anyway.
Yes, it's a method, but I think practically all methods and function can be assigned to a variable name. And the reason is simple, because sometimes that variable needs the result of that function is an object. You know, like I told you in Python, objects are first class, functions are first class objects. So which means that you can call a function inside a function. You can even pass a function as an argument into another function somewhere that is functioning inside another function, you know, like we have decorators. So because of that, yeah, Python has to retain that ability to assign a value to the output of every function so that it can be called inside another function. If not, it will stop being a first class object, all right? So,
but the reverse method doesn't, you can't assign it.
Okay,
I tried using it.
I promise you I'm going to try it before we finish this class. All right, so so let me say this is hundreds dictionary, and just a second, oh, sorry. Okay. So to create a dictionary, we always use a curly brackets, all right? And you can, sorry, what did I do now? Okay, so you can do this to create some form of multi-line dictionary. So the first case we want to have is if it's case 1. Remember, this number is no more a number, it's now a string. So we'll have to represent that 1 in string, all right? So in fact, let me just do that right now. So let me call this, I'm short of words to call this variable, but thankfully you're all in class, so you guys are going to understand when I call this len string variable. Sorry, if you have a better name, please give me. I'm just out of names. Okay, so I'm just going to call it this. All right. So yeah, so you can see that we have a working. So now I can ask Python to give me len string variable. The first one, no, 0 actually, not 1. And then Python will tell me, let me see. int object is not subscriptable. No, it shouldn't be an int object. With length amount string. Okay, just a second. Let me print this amount string. And let me see what it gives me. Okay, where did it go back to being a number? Let me see, maybe I have, this is number, I converted it to string here, printed it out, it was a string, I called it into this place, and I assigned it to a variable. Nope, it shouldn't become a number. Okay, you know what, I'll look at that later, but...
Can you print length string variable?
You said?
Print length string variable.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to try to do right now. Length string. But this is already a string. Yeah, I know. I'm just wondering why it changed. Okay, so yeah, length string amount, and you see it's still a number. Do you get? So I'm wondering what's making it remain a number. Let me remove these assignments and let me just say length amount string. Okay. So if, yeah, so you see, print amount string. Wow. Print amount string. Shouldn't give me this. Okay, but I could have a workaround. I could use a workaround to do this. I could let's see, print amount string 100. Because I need to subscript this. Okay, so let me do it this way. So amount string equals to 100. So amount string 0 is 1. Okay, so instead of calling that function at that point in time, let me use this workaround for now. I'm going to look at it later and know what's causing that. I've not had that problem before. Okay, so I'll just still retain this and then start subscripting from here. All right. So now, means I'm just going to, if I say print amount string, I still have a problem. So let me just delete this. Okay. So now, okay, so let me say 1 is 100. That's the return value. Okay, 2 returns 200. Come on. 3 returns 300. Okay, and just do 4 and then we'll stop at 4. So 4 returns 400. All right, so this is the dictionary. 4, let me see. Shouldn't give me that. Oh, there's no comma here. Sorry. There wasn't a comma behind the 4. Okay, cool. All right. So let's go to the next phase in this project. So what we're going to now tell Python is this: to call amount string 0. All right. And then, so if Let me see. Let me see the right way to do this now. So, okay, so if okay, the right way to do it would be to say if amount string 0 is equal to 1. All right. I'm avoiding writing that long. I'm avoiding writing that long if statement. If amount is equal, return this. That's why I created this dictionary. So how do I connect this dictionary to this? Okay. Let me have.
Can we use a for
dictionary? Yeah.
loop in dictionary?
Yes, you can use a for loop with dictionaries, but you have to reference the key and the values. So for this key or for values.
Want to say key value?
Yes, for key value or for value in this, you know. What I want to do is I want to use the get function. Okay. Just see what so that you can give you some ideas in case you need to guide me. Now, this is what I want to do. So let's say I want to call 100, say hundreds dictionary. All right. Dot get, and I want it to get, aha, okay, so yeah, amount string. So, okay, that means I will have to assign this to a value. So let me call this first digits. It's a mess, but sorry. My naming of variables can just be a problem. So I will now say get first digits here. First digits. Okay.
It's not going to be a string.
Why do you think so?
Remove it from the comma.
Huh?
It's not a variable. The first digit is in a variable.
Let me see. First digits. Get first digits. It's giving me the whole dictionary. Just a second. Get first digits. That should be. Let's see. What is the syntax for that get again? Python gets. Syntax should be get, right? Get values, keys. Sorry, I think I'll just need to check W3 schools. Just give me a second. Let me just go to W3 schools so that I don't crack my head. So dictionary methods. Okay, cool. So get returns the value of a specified key. Yeah. So what's the syntax again? Syntax is car.get. Okay. Cool. Okay, so car.get the, yeah, all right. I think I see where I missed it. So
Line 58, you got to set a new variable.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
String that you're building in.
Yeah. Okay, so this gets the 100 for me, but I need to replace this with, I think I see the problem. Yeah, that was a problem. I put it actually in.
I pointed out.
I didn't hear you.
That you made it a string instead of it being a variable.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, so yeah. So now let me see, friends, hundreds. Okay, cool. Yeah, cool. So let me just delete this. So now I have my 100, all right? So I will now create another dictionary. I probably can create it still under this line of code, or I could just go open another block and call that tens dictionary. Oh, there's not supposed to be any line, the space in between. Okay, so I'll just call that tens dictionary. And okay, so that would be equal to, so for tens, what's the best logic? Since we are, okay, let me make this a very weird number so that, you know, we can get the logic straight up. Okay, so now let's say now, okay, we've gotten that this one should be 100. All right, so irrespective of whatever it's here, we'll have 151, 171. So okay, so we have 100. All right, and we can even, for good measure, just add the and here so that things just become a bit, just add the and here. So, okay, no, I've not assigned anything to this. So let's just write. So I'm going to assign to these tens now. So if we look at this, what is the best way to assign to these tens? If this is 5, we should say 50, right? If this is 1, we should say 10. No, because if this, you have to read the 2 digits together, right? Right. So it will have to read the 2 digits together so that we can say 51, 52, 53. So let's assume that this is 2. It will be 21. All right. If this is 3, it will be 30. But if it is 1, what would it be? That's where the problem is. So that's why we cannot just assign the logic of, say, okay, so this is 111, because if we change this to 2, it automatically destroys that logic, and then we're going to be in trouble. All right. So you see how annoying the life of a programmer can be. Very annoying. Okay, so that means we'll have to take these 2 together, you know, when we're creating a dictionary. And then it means we're in big trouble. We'll have to do a lot of writing, because we'll have to write beginning from 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So for the tens dictionary, we're actually most likely going to find ourselves writing up to 50 values in this dictionary, 50 key value pairs, beginning at 11. So 11, if it's 1, 1, 11, 1, 2, 12, that's for the last 2 digits. So in order to arrive at that, we could subscript it this way. We could say if, let's say, amount string. So if we want to get the last 2 values, in this case, it would be to do 1, all right? And there's to infinity. 1, didn't I define this amount? Oh, amount str. Okay. All right, yeah, so it will be named 1 to infinity. So it will just pick the last 2. So in that case, I will not have to write another dictionary that says, okay, so if it's 11, if the last 2 is 11, pick this word 11. So this one will bring the 100 and then this last 2 digits will bring the 11, then 12, then 13, then 14. Sorry, like I told you, I'm coding on the fly. This is the closest logic that comes to me right now. Does anybody think of anything? Is there any better logic? That's why we're in the session. Please, do you have any better logic that can save us the stress of writing that amount of code? Because I know I tried something like this in Visual Basic many years ago, and I wrote almost like 300 lines of code. So I was hoping that with Python, it will be lesser. But now it's looking like it's not lesser at all. Okay. But does anybody have any logic that we could use to make it shorter?
To check if there's a function with library we can import.
Okay, you like to check. Okay, so let's check. Convert amount. Okay, that's not fair. You just want the easy way to the answer. Okay, convert amount in words. Let me use Python. Okay, so let's see whether somebody has, oh, Stack Overflow. Let's see what they say. Okay, so let me see the answer. You can make it by using one dictionary. So the dictionary will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, and then when he gets to 20, he skips to 30, 40, 50. And then he does this gymnastic that divides the number by 10 and adds it. Oh, come on. That's so not fair. Okay, so that way that's one way. That's one way. It's not a straightforward logic, but that's one way. That's actually one way to do this. Okay. Let me see if there's another person. Oh, come on. Somebody has already done a library. that's not good. Okay, so
Perfect. Library.
oh, come on. Okay, you like libraries, right? You have to pip install with all the dependencies. That's why sometimes it's usually not good, especially some of these libraries that just do one thing or do like 2 or 3 things. Sometimes they could just bloat your OS. You will just discover you have one library just to convert amounts in words to figures. And you really do not even use that function every time. So why do you want to download it and, just clutter your Python library? Okay. This says, okay. Okay, but it refers us to the original dictionary. Okay. This one says if you use, okay, there's already another library. You see the problem? Someone else has done another library called num2words, and you can pip install. Okay. Okay, so this is the same logic that the guy used, but he's using 2 here to mean 20 and 2 here to mean 2. Let me see how he knows when it's tens. See, it's on 0. Okay, sorry, I'm going to scroll a bit to the top. Aha, okay. So any number that falls below that, he will now have it as that I, that's that number, divided by 10. And then whatever remains, this is a modular operator. So when you divide this and what you have a remainder, that remainder, you should classify it under these variable ones, and you should go and pick its value from the dictionaries. This is another neat way. There's a lot of code. Okay. So But I think you get the point, basically, that the point I was trying to make, that sometimes you could end up with trying to start, something, and you just discover that, hey, this thing is even larger than I thought it would be. I thought it would just be write this function and not write this function, just do this and I'll be done. you know, as a rule, sometimes at work or anywhere, I really do not get to check people's codes, because somebody will just will tell you, okay, please help me check this code. It's work, or I don't know, but it should take your time. Come on. Sometimes you spend 3 hours debugging code that is not yours. Then at the end, you now get to start your own work. So that's basically how it works. It's just getting the logic of what you want to do and then translating it into code. All right, so do we have any questions? I'm still going to give this as a take-home learning. So just go check out the various logic that people use to get their own results, and that's one of the things about programming tests. Most times I see people trying to read books, I want to go to Lit Code, I want to go to this, I want to go to that, and sometimes I just laugh. The whole thing is this: if you understand the logic of what you want to do, you can always replicate the code at every point in time. All you just need to do is just to sit down and just think about the logic. You'll be a guru. You just replicate the code. So as much as possible, I initially started like that. I go to Lit Code. I'm trying to cram the code there, but at a point, I discovered that whenever I cram codes like that, it gets stuck. So like the bubble sort algorithm, what's the name of the other algorithm? Most of these popular algorithms that you meet in data structures and algorithms, I didn't get to cram any of them. All I just do is I just and I follow this guy, David Malan. He's this professor in Harvard, yeah, that does CS50. It's a free course. You can do it on EDX or on any of these other courses. So EDX, I subscribed to that course, and I started watching David Malan. David Malan is a master of logic. So I saw him tear down most of those data structures and algorithms, how the logic flows, and then it was just natural with time. You just get so as at that time. It's just that if I sit down again, I'll be able to code it up. But then it was breeze for me. I could just close my eyes and just code the bubble sort algorithm. Okay. Okay. So questions, if you have any. If you don't have any, I probably am just going to introduce something, and then we'll call it a day. But if you have any questions, I'll be glad we could listen to it together and then try to find an answer to it. So anybody, questions? Questions? None? Okay. So usually we have okay, let me go to my Visual Studio. All right, let me just delete this, because this thing I want to do right now, I would need to do it in Visual Studio. Okay, so this function is not working. I'm just going to remove this function. I'll probably just leave it here, so to remind me that we have an outstanding homework. Okay, so let me go to Visual Studio, and then let me introduce a concept that we will continue next week. That concept is the concept of main functions and modular functions. So where my Visual Studio at? Sorry. I prefer to do it in Visual Studio because Visual Studio is a bit more robust than it allows modular programming better than Jupyter notebooks. So let me just select language, Python. I will call this, let me call this, sorry, I'm running out of names, but I'm trying to look for a good name to call it. Okay, so let's call this John Pi, all right? Just a spoof way of non-pi. So let's just call this John Pi. Now, let me, I'll save as, all right. I'm going to call this John Pi.py, all right? Because we have non-pi, okay? So let's have John Pi, and I'm going to save this. So this is how the concept of modularization works in Python. I know you would have seen, for those of you who tried to code Python for data science, you probably would have seen these libraries, NumPy, SciPy, Pandas, and all of that. And even in this Stack Overflow, you saw some people telling us, go get this library, go get this library. What is a library? Very simple. A library is a collection of pre-written methods, pre-written functions, all right? So let's say in this, let's say John is an accountant, all right? So he does a lot of calculations, all right? A lot of calculations. So let's just call this the first function that he creates, all right? Because we're trying to create a module called John Pi. So let's create addition, def add items, okay? Or let's even call it addition so that it makes it easier for reference purposes, all right? And then let's define this. Now let's say that addition takes, let's just say so that the code does not be too long, let's just say addition takes two variables, X and Y, all right? Just so that the code doesn't get too clumsy, sorry. And then return X plus Y. So we're just saying that when somebody calls this addition function, Python should return an addition of the two. So let's call this subtraction. Subtraction. All right. And so we'll have X and Y again. We could just use args or quargs or whatever we like, but I just didn't want to make this very long or just complicated. So this will also be return X minus Y, all right? So let's do one more and let's call this multiply, all right? And then let's say it takes just two variables, X and Y, and it should return X times Y. Okay, so we're good. Now, let me just call one of these functions so that I'll be sure it's working. So let me call this function multiply 3 and 4. So let me run it. Okay, make this ones. Okay, just run it. Invalid syntax. Where is that problem coming from? Where's the problem coming from? Okay, let me make this comments. Okay. See.
This is VS Code. You have to print your multiply. It won't give you any output.
No. It should at least not, it shouldn't give me an error. But
A syntax error, yes,
true,
yes. But I'm also saying, I'm also pointing that out.
No. Yeah.
It shouldn't give you a
true,
syntax
true.
error.
I'm just, let me see. Yeah, so the syntax is invalid. It shouldn't give me a syntax error at all. It should have just told me something, but not a syntax error. So now I'm trying to find out where the syntax problem is. Let me
Have you run the
Can you
function
change?
multiply?
Okay, have I run the multiply? Yeah, okay, let me comment this out. So let's make this a comment. Where is that? That should be control
Control
K.
/
No, in Visual Studio Code, it's control K, control K.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know why mine is not working.
Try control /
Control C, K.
No,
Or
like control
K,
/
C. No, that's for Jupyter Notebooks.
No, just still try it here.
Control / is not working. Oh, it is. Oh, I was pressing my calculator button. Don't mind me. Okay. So yeah, so let's run this. So there's a problem. Now, where
Doesn't like it.
Yeah, where is this coming from? The multiply method is having an issue. Okay, let me even just print. Let me just print out something to be sure. Print A. Let's see if it works. See, so there's a problem with my Python, right?
Is your VS Code?
That's the thing I want to check right now. If it's
Are
connected.
you online? I think.
No, there's something wrong. This is.
Yeah, there's something wrong with your VS Code. The PowerShell.
Let me see.
Can you change your terminal?
Yeah, I'm going to do that right now, but I just want to be sure that the problem is not from. Let me see if it works again. Okay.
Git bash.
Nah.
I think it needs you to update your PowerShell or something.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't need an update.
I
actually just updated it, so I have not used it
wait.
since I
That purple
updated it.
stuff is showing. That purple stuff that is coming up. Is it restricted?
Which one?
Are you restricted? There's your down screen, like at the bottom.
This one? No, I'm not in restricted mode. If I were in restricted mode, you see it here, restricted mode.
Okay, that's what I wanted to. But
Okay.
how come it's having the issue?
From? Yeah.
Do you have another ID? Can you use it on Python shell?
No.
Okay,
What I want to do, I want to create modules.
Code.
Yeah. I want to create a module.
Or can I help you? Can I share
you
my
want to share
screen?
Your screen? Okay, great.
And do the same thing.
Okay, let me just copy
and
this.
do JumpPy.
Yeah, let me copy this code.
And put it in the chat.
Yeah, I'm putting in the chat. Okay.
Let me open my
while I troubleshoot my VS Code.
JumpPy.
Okay, so here it is. It's in the chat. While I stop sharing and troubleshoot my VS Code. Okay, so you go ahead.
Okay, well, can I share?
Yeah, you can. Yeah. Share screen.
Okay, where is the close? Where is the chat? Let me copy this. Ctrl C and share screen. Okay, good. Okay, can you see?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So which should I?
Just go to the run button. Yeah.
Okay.
Problems, 7 problems. Interesting. Okay.
No, that is not.
Okay, it's the
not connect.
indents. The indents.
No, this one is from my work.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It's okay. It's okay. Let me do this thing. Print.
Okay, print, yeah. Okay, 12.
See,
so it's
printed
working.
it. Yes.
Okay, cool. So now we have those functions: addition, subtraction, multiply. So now go open another file, all right? And save it as, okay, we can call it classwork, all right?
Okay.
So let's just call it classwork.py. Okay, cool. So now let's say that, no, you can go back to classwork. So let's say that we are trying to run a function. Instead of having to start writing our own function, all we need to do is just to import that module that John has written, the whole line of code that John has written. We just import it. So we can now say import John Pi.
Will it know?
Yes, it will. So do you see? Do you notice it's no man error?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So go to the next line. So now you can now go down a bit. So let's say we want to add two functions together. All you need to do is just to say John Pi dot addition. You see, just go back. You see, it's already recognizing it. Then open the brackets. You see, it is telling you the two things that it requires. If we had put doc strings, it will also show the whole doc string. All right. So put in the year 2 and just run it. You'll be fine. Print. Remember to print. Remember to print. Yeah. So yeah, so that's it. So this is what we do when we say import numpy as np or import. Okay, you can even change this. Make it import John Pi as jp. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, as jp. Okay, then instead of John Pi, change that to jp dot addition. Okay, cool. No, just that. Yeah. Now run it. So, so all that, but you would notice that it's giving us two things here. Do you notice?
Okay, it's
Good.
giving us 12 and 13. Why?
Now go to John Pi. You would see that John Pi has a function called, go down a bit, scroll down. You'll see that there's a function called there. Aha. So you see 3 times 4. There's already a function called there. Under print. You see print multiply 3 times 4.
Oh.
So that's exactly the challenge now I want to show you how to deal with. So I'm going to put a code line in the chat now that you would have seen somewhere in a tutorial online, and you'd have been wondering what that code does. So let me just escape full screen mode, and then I would put that piece of code. Just a second. Okay. So here you go. Now put this line of code that I gave you now in
If I go, I may disconnect.
Yes, go back. No, just go to the chat.
I'm saying if I go to
No,
the chat,
go to chat.
you cannot see my screen again.
No, I don't need to see your screen.
I think
just
I
go to the
shared.
chat.
I'm trying to go there, but I can't.
Uh-oh.
I'm sharing only this screen, unless
no problem.
I stop
just go ahead. Don't stop sharing. Just go to your chats. Just go to your chats. It will still freeze the screen. It will freeze the screen. It's Zoom. Yeah, that's what Zoom will do. It will just freeze the screen.
I don't know why it's not opening. It's just bringing out the. Your screen is paused. Let me stop sharing. Just
okay.
Okay,
cool.
I've come back now.
All right. So just copy it.
I've copied. Copy. Then share my screen.
Okay.
Where is that stuff? Sorry, excuse me.
Okay, no problems.
Okay, I've seen it. Sure.
Okay, cool.
So then I should paste
so
it
now,
here.
No, go back to the classwork.
Okay.
Now, before you have that print, paste that line of code. Please just push it down a bit. Just push it down like 4 lines down. Cool. Now, take that print to make it like a sub under if.
Okay.
Yes. Remember, if it's not supposed to be a comma, sorry, my bad. It's supposed to be a colon.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. What's happening? It's not indenting. You have to do manual indenting?
I don't know what happened.
Okay, run it now.
I should run this.
Yes, run this now. You'll notice that it doesn't bring that 13 again, and I'm going to tell you why. So run it. It doesn't bring 12 anymore.
Ta-da! Brought up.
Wait.
Let me change.
No, it shouldn't. Wait. It shouldn't bring that 12 again, but I want to show you why it's. Let me confirm that line of code. If name is equals to main, that should work. Okay, so this is what you can do. Okay, do this for me. I'm going to put another line of code in the chat so that you can help me just copy it out. Okay, so this is the line of code, print name. Let me see what comes out. Just copy it like that and print it out. You can make all the other ones comments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Make which one comment? I should paste it.
Yes, yeah, comments out from that if down. Okay, yeah,
I should comment this.
Yeah, comment it out. Okay, now paste that code, print name. Okay, so run it. Let's see what name comes out. Main. So since the name is main, Why is the code not working? If name is equal to name. The code is supposed to work.
I'm not supposed to put this if name blah 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 under the jump by.
Name is equals to name. Print jp.addition 5. It should work. Because okay, so this is what this thing does. This if name equals to main tries to check whether this document that you're working on currently is actually the main document or is the source document where you generated this jump-i from. So if it had checked the name and the name was jump-i, so that's why we're saying if the name is main, print this thing. So anything that belongs to jump-i, all those prints, multiplication, and every other line of code, that will not come out because we said if name equals to main. All right, so that was supposed to take care of that problem. You know what? I promise you this is where we'll start next week. All right, but when we do that, we will now venture into object-oriented programming, hopefully. All right, but it's supposed to knock off that 12 so that that 12 doesn't show anymore when you run the addition. You get?
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to try this again shortly and know why it's not happening. But is there any question? Any last thing we need to take before we call it a day?
Well, I don't have a question on what you're doing there.
Okay.
But what I've been doing, I'm still trying to get the get function to work.
Oh.
Irrespective of how the format looks, and it's not going to read pretty. Can I just share here for a second?
Sure, please. Go ahead.
Okay. I go here. Okay, so what I got, I just plug in amount 121. I keep a small number, amount string.
Okay.
Reading through that it makes sense.
All right.
And then I set up 3 dictionaries, a hundreds, tens,
okay.
and a 1.
Right.
And I'd like it to come back and say 121.
Okay.
Now, that's a very small example, but what I then do is going to create another variable, word, right. And I go to the hundreds dictionary, get,
okay.
And the parameter amount string 0.
Okay.
I go down here and I print word. I get it to say 100.
100, right.
Right. So I've got the 100, but okay. I can't get somewhere. I've got some syntax wrong in here.
Yes.
To go to the tens and then to the ones.
That's you're supposed to have, you're missing the colon in the string, amount string 1 colon. No, the end.
Amount string
1 and then a colon after the 1.
Well, no, I want to put a third variable, a third item in here that would be ones dictionary.
Okay.
So I just want it to come up with,
okay, just the middle
this,
one.
I want to see
right.
just 20.
Just, okay.
Right?
Okay. So if you want to
here,
do that.
Colon, comma, ampersand, how do I concatenate? And that's an Excel phrase.
Okay.
But how do I join those 2 strings?
Okay, so let me just put the line of code you could use in the chat. So let me do this. I'd say word equals hundreds dictionary dot get amount string 0 plus words. Okay, so this is it. Word equals to hundreds dictionary that gets amounts, then put a plus, then put the second one. So it's in the chart.
Plus, yep. All right, and then do I need another comma?
Yes, you need another comma.
And another comma, okay.
All right.
And then so down here, if I do the same, plus.
Okay.
And I'm gonna get based on amount, let's see. String
one.
Here I need the brackets.
Yeah.
This would be 2.
2, yeah. Okay.
And then
so you
close parentheses then, or am I done?
No, since you didn't start with the parentheses, then you could just end. Okay, yeah, close the parentheses for the gets, yeah.
Get, yes, here, okay.
No, that'll be after, at the end. Then you remove the one you put, yeah. Great. Yeah. So run it, let's see.
So now if I run that one,
okay.
I still didn't like it.
Okay, so okay. Word equals okay, why not let's put this in Okay, so this is what I'm going to do, John. If you give me your email address, if you put it in if you send it to me via private message, I would try to correct this and send you the correct code, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cool.
Yep. So yeah, I just want to get the syntax right for the get command.
Yeah.
And so this is right.
Yes.
Because I can get it to say 100.
Right.
But how do I now join multiple strings there?
Right.